uh, why hasn't Dontre Wilson been more involved in the offensive game plan, and what does he have to do in the games ahead to put himself in a position to maybe be more involved?
I think up until the Northwestern game, we had kind of progressed him at the level that we had expected, and then he, by his own admission, didn't have a great week of practice, and that coupled with the fact that the defensive coverage structure that Northwestern was predominantly in the whole night, which was a cover three, bailing the corners out, really protecting the alleys, really not giving a whole lot of options into the perimeter run game. It just didn't work itself out to the way that we had hoped, and then obviously Carlos got hot, and so every time Dontre touches the ball, Carlos doesn't. It's one less touch for him. So I think we'll make a concerted effort this week to increase his role. I think the biggest thing is he's got to be able to go in the game and play different positions and it not be a red flag that, hey, this guy's either getting the ball or getting faked the ball. He's just got to go out and be a regular guy, whether it be a slot receiver, whether it be in the backfield. He's got to be able to be trustworthy enough to put on the field and say, he's just a guy running a route. He's not, hey, red flags, bells and whistles, look at here, because started getting to the point the second, third, and fourth week of the season where he ran on the field and the entire defense was pointing, there's number one, there's watch number one, and saw the defenses change and all that stuff. So we got to make sure that doesn't happen.
But he's still the fastest guy on the field when he's on there, so they're going to notice he's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you want him to be an every down kind of.
Maybe not every down for
but
him, but he needs to be able to play on downs where he's not getting the football, and that will hopefully then draw less attention to him when we do try to get him the football, and it'll make that job a little bit easier.
What was it like watching Carlos Hyde Saturday night sort of do his thing in the second half on the offensive line? Did you feel hamstrung or did you feel powerful? What's the feeling like when you're kind of running those plays and they're sort of dominating?
Well, the hamstring certainly not.
No, I mean,
No, I was happy for him. I was happy for the O-line. I think early in the game, we were getting yards, and so we kind of knew that we could block them. We knew that we could do some things. We did a poor job in the red zone in the first half, and we turned the ball over. And so we knew very early on what the O-line was capable of doing, and then it was just a matter of trying to find. I mean, I think he had 10 or 11 carries in the first half, so it wasn't like he was non-existent. But we made a conscious effort in that second half to say, we're moving him up front. He's playing well and seeing things really well, so let's continue to feed him.
Tom, can you talk about how your relationship with Braxton has played out over time? Because the way you described it and something that I read sounds like it's a constant work in progress.
Yeah, I think it's really good now. I think it's taken a long time to get to the level that we're at. I think every relationship is a work in progress, if my wife's listening. But every relationship is always a work in progress. You're never where you probably want to be, and so. But it was hard at first because I think, like I said before, it was I was his fourth coordinator in 4 years or whatever it might have been, and so it's a give and take in terms of trust, and so. I earned his trust and he earned mine, and then slowly but surely that starts to snowball.
Was there a concern that, he went months with a fairly significant change in his family situation and without you hearing about it, correct?
Yeah.
Was that just a function of that trust you talked about?
Probably. And I think it's a function of how conscientious the young man is in terms of he didn't want to disrupt the season and didn't want to disrupt me and didn't want to disrupt his teammates or anybody else, and he wanted to make sure that was not a distraction, nor was it seen as one.
How did you come away with his performance on Saturday? He had the 3 turnovers, but after that led you to 3 touchdowns down the stretch to win the game. How did you come away with it?
Well, anytime the interception was certainly no fault of his, but it still goes down in the stat book as an interception for him, and so The fumbles were a concern, obviously, and I think he missed a couple reads early, but nothing terrible. So he was playing hard. The thing I was most proud of was every coach on the sideline was telling me his demeanor was great. And he had his chin up, and he was still talking and still active and involved, and he was great with me on the headset. And so that told me that we had at least crossed one hurdle from maybe last year and where he was in terms of when things started to go south a little bit. His demeanor would change, and he would wear his emotions on his sleeve. And I think he did an excellent job of keeping his chin up, keeping his chest out, and making sure that his teammates around him understood, hey, I screwed up, guys. I screwed up, and I'll get it back. We'll be all right.
The first one, was that a running play? Should he have given the ball to Carlos on that? The defensive end appears to make a great play.
Really tough one. Yeah. You don't ever excuse the fumble. The read, I ran it back 10 times on the he's got to make that decision in 0.2 seconds, and I'm running it back over and over and over again, and I still am not sure what to tell him. The defensive end made a great play, but again, when you have the ball in your hands, it's got to be secure, and it wasn't at that time, and the kid punched it out.
Tom, what is
How much self-scouting goes on this week?
A ton. I think it's a perfect time to have a bye week. We're halfway into the season. We're 6 games in. We have a week to kind of take a deep breath. What are we good at? What aren't we good at? Where do we need to get better? What do we need to enhance and keep doing? And so to quantify it, I don't know, but that's a ton of our time in the mornings are spent on our own self-scouting, not just trying to get ready for Iowa.
I know y'all got to get better at everything, but what is one thing definitely y'all need to improve in this 2-week little window?
I think we gotta get the ball to our receivers on the run, maybe a little bit more. We're not, I don't know that we have the guy that can catch a hitch and make a corner miss and take it 80. But we got guys that, in the short and intermediate pass game, if we can get them the ball on the run a little bit, I think we can get more yards there. We're throwing hitches and we're throwing bubbles and we're doing all that very efficiently, and it's great, and it's helped, and it's improved our offense over last year. But now we've got to find a way to get those guys the ball maybe a little bit on the run.
Tom, Coach Meyer said after the game that he thought about putting Kenny in for Braxton.
Mm-hmm.
What was that discussion like during the game as the coaching staff is pondering that?
Well, ultimately it's the head coach's decision, with input from myself. And, he said, Tom, should we get Kenny ready? I said, yeah, we need to get him ready. And beyond that, that was the last of discussion, really. And I think Coach Meyer then, I don't know if that was when we got a turnover or something.
Yeah, it was a fumble.
He said, hey, Braxton's going in. And I said, good. I think that's the right thing to do.
Is that kind of decision, is that a win the game, whatever is best for this team right now decision? Or when you are talking about taking out your starting quarterback, do you have to think about ramifications down the line? How would Braxton deal with that? How would the team deal with that?
Not at that moment. No, I think you deal with those after. If that decision was made, you deal with anything that comes of that after. I think at that moment, well, like I said last week, we have one responsibility, and that's to win the football game, and then you take care of that responsibility, and then you deal with anything after that.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.